Hello, welcome back. What you're about to hear may not be to your liking. This is not just a superficial reading, but a deep examination and analysis, embellished with visuals. Today, we will examine why this book is so important and what it has changed in our lives. I'll grab my coffee and get started.
The snow in the mountains was melting, and Bunny had been dead for several weeks before we came to realize the gravity of our situation. It is strange how the cold preserves things. It preserves bodies, yes, but it also preserves secrets. It freezes time itself, locking a moment of horror into an eternal painting. I remember the silence of that winter more than the act of murder itself. It wasn't the silence of peace, nor the silence of an empty room. It was the heavy, suffocating silence of complicity. The kind of quiet that fills a room when 5 intelligent people share a truth that is too heavy to carry, yet too dangerous to drop. Welcome to the darkness. Here at Daily Books, we do not merely summarize plots for the impatient. We are not here to save you time. We are here to change your mind. We dissect the human soul until the bone is exposed. Today, we open the pages of Donna Tartt's The Secret History. But beware, we are not just talking about a story. We are talking about you. Imagine for a moment that you are Richard Papin. You come from a town made of plastic and asphalt, a place with no history, no soul, and no future. You are starving, not for food, but for meaning, for beauty. And then you see them, the Greek class. They are everything you are not. They are wealthy. They are arrogant. They speak ancient languages as if discussing the weather. They don't just walk, they glide. They seem to exist in a different reality, separated from the mundane world by a velvet rope. Intimate tone. Tell me, have you never felt that? The desperate, clawing hunger to be part of the inner ring? The fear that real life is happening somewhere else, in a room you cannot enter? C.S. Lewis called this the inner ring. It is the most corrupting desire in the human heart. And Richard is willing to sell his soul just to hold the ticket.
Here is where the trap is set. We are taught that beauty is truth, that if something is aesthetically pleasing, if it wears a pleat jacket, quotes Plato, and listens to Bach, it must be good. It must be moral. What a dangerous lie. The characters in this book, Henry, Francis, the twins, they curate their lives like a museum exhibit. They reject the modern world because they find it ugly. They reject morality because they find it boring. They want to live like the ancients, grand, tragic, intense. But they forget one thing. The ancients didn't just have marble statues and philosophy. They had madness, they had blood sacrifice, they had Dionysius. Here at Daily Books, we analyze the why. Why are we drawn to this? Because we mistake refinement for goodness. You see, the devil doesn't come to you with horns and a pitchfork. He comes to you with a charming smile, holding a glass of expensive wine, quoting Homer in the original Greek. And so, the stage is set for a tragedy. Not an accident, but a necessity. Because when you try to transcend your humanity, when you try to become a god, the only place left to fall is into hell. In the next 20 minutes, we are going to walk through that snow with them. We are going to deconstruct how a group of brilliant students convinced themselves
that murder was not a crime, but an aesthetic duty. We will examine the fatal flaw that exists in every intellectual, the belief that you are too smart to be evil. Take a deep breath. Stay with me. The candles are lit. The door is locked. And there is no turning back now. Let us begin the descent. To understand the murder, we must first understand the teacher, Julian Morrow. He is not just a professor, he is a curator of souls. He handpicks his students not for their grades, but for their texture. He separates them from the rest of the university. He demands they drop all other classes. He demands they sever ties with the modern world. This is the first step of radicalization, isolation. When you cut off the outside world, the moral compass of that world ceases to apply. In that small, dusty classroom, Julian teaches them that the Greeks were not just people, they were superior beings. He teaches them that morality is a construct for the weak, for the ugly, for the ordinary. And here lies the danger that we often discuss at Daily Books, the danger of the echo chamber. When 5 brilliant minds are locked in a room reflecting only each other's arrogance, they don't become wiser, they become delusional. They begin to believe that the rules of society, traffic lights, taxes, even the sanctity of life are merely suggestions for the common man, but not for them, never for them. They are the chosen few, the guardians of the flame. And guardians, historically, are allowed to kill to protect the temple. Richard Papin falls in love with this isolation. He thinks he has found paradise. He doesn't realize he has walked into a cage. A gilded cage, yes, lined with velvet and smelling of old paper, but a cage nonetheless. And in this cage, a beast is waking up. They wanted to touch the divine, but the god they chose to summon was Dionysus. In Nietzsche's philosophy, which they studied obsessively, there is a war between the Apollonian and the Dionysian. Apollo is order, light, reason. Dionysus is chaos, darkness, intoxication. The modern world is Apollonian. It is structured, safe, predictable. Henry Winter, the genius of the group, found this unbearable. He wanted to lose himself. He wanted ecstasis, to stand outside oneself, to stop being a human and become a force of nature. So they tried to recreate an ancient bacchanal. They fasted, they drank, they went into the woods in the dead of winter. They wanted to see a god, and perhaps they did, but gods are terrifying things. In the frenzy of their ritual, in the pitch-black darkness of the Vermont woods, they encounter a figure. They think it is a beast, a demon, an obstacle. They tear it apart with their bare hands. They unleash all that repressed violence, all that civilized rage. But when the sun rises, when the madness fades and the mist lifts, they see what they have done. It was not a beast. It was a local farmer, a man with a name, a man with a family, a man who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. This moment, this specific moment, is the pivot point of the entire novel, and it is the pivot point of your life if you are not careful, because this is what happens when you chase an aesthetic experience without a moral anchor. You might think you are reaching for the stars, but your feet are stomping on the innocent. Now, pay close attention. This is where the horror truly begins. Not in the blood, but in the reaction to the blood. A normal person would call the police. A normal person would be crushed by guilt. But Henry? Henry treats the murder of the farmer like a translation error in a difficult text, a minor inconvenience, an administrative problem to be solved. He rationalizes it. He intellectualizes it. He convinces the others that their survival is more important than justice. This is cognitive dissonance weaponized by high intelligence. We often assume that smart people are good people. Daily Books exists to challenge this very assumption. Intelligence is a tool. It can be used to build a hospital, or it can be used to design a gas chamber. In Henry's hands, his intellect becomes a defense attorney for his own soul. He argues his way out of guilt. Have you ever done that? Maybe not murder, but have you ever hurt someone and then immediately built a story in your head about why they deserved it? About why you had no choice? That voice that justifies your darkness, that is the Henry inside in you. They decide to bury the truth. They decide to pretend nothing happened. They go back to their Greek verbs and their tea parties. But the inner ring is now sealed in blood, and there is one person, one weak link who knows the secret, Bunny. And Bunny cannot keep his mouth shut. The tragedy is no longer accidental. It is about to become deliberate.
Enter Bunny Corcoran. Up until this moment in our story, Bunny was a caricature. He was the jester, the moocher, the boy who borrowed money and forgot to pay it back. He was the comic relief in a tragedy. But tragedy has a way of twisting comedy into horror. After the farmer's death, Bunny transforms. He becomes the most dangerous thing in the world. A man with a mediocre mind, but a catastrophic secret. He discovers the truth about the murder. Not because he is brilliant, Henry is the brilliant one, but because he can smell fear. He smells it on them like cheap cologne, and he begins to feed on it. Imagine the torture, the absolute psychological siege. Every single day you have to sit across from him at lunch. Every day he makes a joke, a subtle hint, a wink across the table that says, "I know what you did in the woods." He holds their lives in his hands, and he plays with them like a child plays with a loaded gun, carelessly. This is a specific kind of hell that the Daily Books community might recognize. It is the anxiety of the loose thread. You have built a perfect life, a perfect aesthetic, but there is one snag, one tiny error that threatens to unravel the entire tapestry. Bunny is that snag. He is loud, he is vulgar, he is undeniably real. And suddenly, the aesthetic purity of their group, their Greek ideal, is polluted by the messy, chaotic reality of Bunny Corcoran. He isn't just a friend anymore. Pause. Cold tone. He's a liability. And in the cold calculus of the elite, liabilities must be liquidated.
So, they make a decision. This is the part that should chill your blood more than the act itself. It is not a crime of passion. There is no shouting match. There is no sudden burst of rage. It is a rational, calm, collective decision. A boardroom meeting for murder. Henry Winter, the architect of this nightmare, presents the problem logically. Bunny is going to talk. If Bunny talks, they go to prison. Therefore, Bunny must cease to exist.
Pause. It is a syllogism. A leads to B, B leads to C. It is terrifyingly logical. They discuss methods. Poison, too risky. Toxicology reports are thorough. An accident, plausible. They settle on the ravine, the melting snow, the hiking trail, the gravity. Pause. Notice Richard, our narrator, our eyes. He goes along with it. He doesn't scream. He doesn't run to the police station. He sleeps. He eats. He attends his Greek classes. He helps them plan. This is the banality of evil that Hannah Arendt warned us about. We expect evil to look like a monster. We expect it to have horns. But sometimes evil is just a tired college student nodding his head in a quiet, candlelit room, agreeing that his friend needs to die for the greater good. They convince themselves that they're not murderers, they're surgeons, removing a gangrenous limb to save the body. This is the ultimate lie of the intellectual, the belief that your superior purpose justifies any atrocity.
The day arrives. It is a Sunday. The woods are wet with the thaw of spring, smelling of rot and cold mud. Bunny is there, sitting near the edge. He is reading a book. In this moment, stripped of his loud jokes and his annoying laugh, he looks remarkably small. He looks like a child. When they confront him, pay attention to the absence of drama. There is no grand villainous speech. There is no thunderclap. Reality is often disappointing in that way. It is clumsy, it is awkward, and it is terribly quiet. Henry steps forward. Bunny steps back. His heel finds nothing but air. The murder of Bunny Corcoran is terrifying not because it is violent, but because it is mechanical. It is a physics problem. In the end, gravity takes over. One push, that's all it takes. 1 second of physical effort to cross the irrevocable line between a student and a killer. 1 second to erase a human being. And then, the sound. Not a scream, but the sound of a body hitting rocks. A wet, heavy thud that is sickeningly final. A sound that does not belong in a civilized world. And then, the silence returns. The birds, disturbed for a moment, return to the trees. The wind continues to blow through the pines. The sun does not go dark. The earth does not shake. That is the true horror, isn't it? The world simply continues. It is completely indifferent to your tragedy. The ravine swallows the secret, and the snow begins to fall again, covering everything in white.
And now comes the hangover. The moment the body lands, the dark academia filter dissolves instantly. The illusion shatters like cheap glass. The candles burn out. The tweed jackets, once so elegant, are now just dirty with mud and cold sweat. The Greek quotes stop sounding profound and start sounding like what they are, gibberish spoken by frightened children. This is what they didn't anticipate. They thought they were performing a sacrifice, a rite, something out of an Iliad. But standing there, shivering in the freezing Vermont air, looking down into that ravine,
they realize the crushing truth. They are not gods. They are not tragic heroes. They are just 5 terrified students standing over a broken body in the mud. The grandeur is gone. Only the cold remains. The fear sets in, but it is not the exciting, philosophical fear of Dionysius they wanted. No, it is the cold, banal, ugly fear of the real world, the fear of the police, the fear of jail cells with fluorescent lights, the fear of losing their trust funds and their reputations. The descent is complete. They have fallen from their ivory tower, and they have landed hard on the concrete of reality. And the real world has consequences. This is the price of the inner ring. You wanted to be inside? You wanted to be special? Congratulations. You are now united by a bond that can never be broken, the bond of blood. And it will not liberate you. It will strangle you slowly for the rest of your lives. The romance is dead. Only the ghost remains.
Years pass. The snow melts. The police investigations eventually hit dead ends. The world moves on, as it always does. But for Richard, and for the few who survived their own ambition, time does not heal. It only petrifies. Richard says something at the end that haunts me. He says, "I suppose at one time in my life I might have had any number of stories, but now there is no other. This is the only story I will ever be able to tell." That is the true tragedy of the secret history. They sought immortality. They wanted to live forever, like the characters in the Greek myths. And in a cruel, twisted way, they got exactly what they wanted. They are frozen. They are trapped in that winter, in that ravine, forever. They are ghosts, haunting the hallways of their own memories. Henry, Francis, the twins, they became the very statues they admired, cold, beautiful, and completely dead inside. The aesthetic they worshipped eventually consumed them. So, I leave you with a question, not about the book, but about you. What is your secret history? We all have an inner ring we are desperate to join. Maybe it's a social circle, a corporate boardroom, an artistic clique. We look at them from the outside and we think, if only I could be one of them, my life would have meaning. But ask yourself, what part of your soul are you willing to amputate to fit through that door? Are you killing your kindness, your honesty, your unique voice, just to wear the right clothes and say the right words? Donna Tartt didn't write a murder mystery. She wrote a warning. She showed us that the desire to belong is the most dangerous drug in the human experience. Don't drink the poison just because it comes in a crystal glass.